Let me start off by saying Attack on Titan is an objectively horribly written manga. I'm not going to spare your feelings or appeal to any subjectivity. Objectively speaking, Attack on Titan is terribly written. This video will discuss exactly why that is the case. This video will also be very direct and to the point and automatically expect you to be aware of story beats, themes, and ideas circulating this series. If you want a critique appealing to more advanced aspects of the story, I will link one in the description. This video will also be structured from least important problems to most important. Lastly, if I see any reading comprehension devil comments, I fully expect you to accept my debate offer. Too many people are comfortable saying media literacy diff and etc. without actually trying to have a conversation man to man, which is the pussiest shit ever. Imagine I say you suck at basketball, like you can't dribble or you can't shoot, and when you ask me to play a game of 7, I say nah bro, that's some little girl playground shit. If you have a problem with anything I say, you should be able to back it up and stand on it. Zeke was one of the most interesting characters in the time skip. While I think his backstory is nowhere as close to Reiner's, he is extremely thematically important. To parallel Eren, Zeke had the jaded idea that Eldians needed to all die and submit to the world itself. This is our natalism versus anti-natalism conflict that is the entire crux for Eren and the thesis Attack on Titan sits on. Fundamentally, Zeke is to show our audience that the future is the most important thing in Attack on Titan. However, there is multitudes of problems we run into with Zeke, outside of things like why did him dying stop the rumbling, and how come he was able to get killed in the first place. Zeke is a professional time waster and only a plot device for the rumbling to start. He gets manipulated by Eren so he can give himself the founding titan in some crazy time loop magic nonsense. Then he gets manipulated by Armin to see the value in the world. I say manipulated because Zeke has had the racism of Marley instilled in him his entire fucking life. Some little femboy 10 years younger than him shouldn't be able to convince him about life's value, especially when Zeke has been in paths for years upon years with the same ideology. Zeke is one of the most thematically important characters and did effectively nothing pre and post time skip outside develop Levi's hate boner. Historia has some of the best character writing in the series, as practically the second main character for 2 arcs in the pre-time skip. One can only expect her involvement with the story on a larger scale will only be better, right? Historia is revealed to be pregnant in chapter 107. In 108, drunk MPs start thinking she got pregnant to save herself from the plan to inherit Zeke's beast titan. They think Yelena told her about the plan and she got pregnant with some nameless, faceless farmer just to buy herself some time. Historia also told the government that she'll be giving birth in a few months. Reading Historia in the uprising, then seeing this, something has to be wrong. Historia would never get pregnant to save herself, as she would be no better than her mother and go against her character. We learn in chapter 130 that Historia got pregnant because she wanted to, and not for any plan or whatever. We see Historia was always protected because of the wine plan, and that Yelena never set her up to do anything. It was Historia that asked Eren about the idea of having a child, and it was Eren as the hooded figure. We also see Historia give birth during the rumbling, making what she said about her due date a complete lie. Now I have a couple questions. Why would anyone lie about the due date of their birth? Why would Historia get pregnant for a plan that was completely unnecessary? Why wasn't Historia married to the farmer? Why do we not know anything about the farmer like his name or face? When you read into the writing of the subplot, the evidence all boils down to Eren being the father of Historia's child. Historia lied about her due date to conceal Eren being the father. She didn't marry the farmer in the 10 months they had because he simply isn't the father. And it would be thematically perfect for the natalist Eren and the child lover Historia to make a baby based off their mutual acceptance and bond towards one another. It was Historia who invigorated Eren's spirit and reminded him of his mother's word Historia was also never grouped in with Eren's friends like the railroad scene nor the 130 panel. He also made an effort to tell her his plan and even erase her memories. Their bond is so special. Even though Historia would never support genocide, she didn't tell a single person about Eren's intentions while the entire court was struggling to understand what he was doing. Isayama wrote a mystery of who could be the father where it was either Eren or the farmer and presented information that contradicted the farmer's inclusion multiple times. More importantly, Historia was apparently in love with the dude we know literally nothing about. Do I have to remind you who this woman is? As a female lead, she gaps the entire cast with her development. She has had major focus in 2 full arcs. Why would Isayama treat such a beloved character like fodder? Why would they get pregnant if it didn't matter in the end? Why was Historia sidelined for a pregnancy when natalist is Attack on Titan's biggest theme? I made an entire video diving into more details about Isayama's abandonment of Historia and the fact that her pregnancy subplot was dropped because Isayama didn't play with it anymore. Floch and the Jaegerists were absolutely dismantled by the plot of Attack on Titan. After chapter 119, the Jaegerists fully controlled the government of Paradise. The Jaegerists waver with the idea of killing their own, but resolve at the fact if they don't, the island cannot survive. The complete opposite is with the Alliance. The Alliance know if they stop Eren, the island was likely gonna get blown up. This is only doubled if they have to kill the government of Paradise to get to Eren. The Jaegerists rise up due to the inaction of the old government. They understand what needs to be done in order to protect the island, even if it means killing their own. The ideology of the Jaegerists is felt by every single citizen of Paradise. The Alliance don't even have an ideology. They just want to stop genocide, but never submit any alternatives to the rumbling. The fact the Alliance have no argument to present to the Jaegerists outside genocide bad, accompanied by winning a 10 vs 100, is so fucking insane. 100 trained soldiers versus 4 shifters, 1 Ackerman, 1 child, and 4 civilians. It is so apparent that Isayama needed the Alliance to win no matter what, that when Floch is apparently killed, the rest of the Jaegerists just disappear. What's worse is that Shadis told his students to join the Jaegerists just to kill them chapters later. Do you see how nonsensical this entire mini arc is? The Alliance is not morally, mechanically, nor even thematically superior to the Jaegerists. The fact that they destroy and betray the island's military just to have a shot at Eren should show how hypocritical the Alliance are, but they never think about this. What's more is that Floch's nationalism, while Nazi-like sometimes, is the only thing preventing the outside world from putting a golem the bridge first play. Eren forced his friends to fight one another, and the result was that Floch died because he couldn't break through plot armor and Ackerman hacks. The Alliance is one of the worst groups of anything I've ever seen in my entire life. I would prefer them 5 pink-haired bitches than these 10 retards. Let's discuss the hypocrisy of Connie killing Samuel. Samuel was completely unarmed, yet Connie still chose to kill him. There were other ways of dispatching Samuel, but Connie chose to kill him, which shows a large amount of cognitive dissonance. If you are trying to argue that the mass killing of everyone around the world is wrong, yet you kill an innocent, defenseless man in order to argue this, does your argument not obviously fall flatter than paper? This level of nonsense keeps permeating the Alliance. Annie is brought back in the most comical manner ever, when in reality is insanely corny. Nobody ever gives Annie any backlash despite having tons of reasons to do so, as well as her saying, albeit to herself, that she'd repeat it all over again. Mikasa shows levels of sympathy to Annie. This will not be a problem if you forget how Louise was literally on her deathbed and all Mikasa had to say to that bitch was, "Damn, bitches be barking." Floch's last words cement Eren as the last hope for Paradise. Hans replies to this saying, "We can't give up. If we lose, then someday..." What the fuck? Floch's final words are greeted by cryptic nonsense from Hans that completely avoids the issue. It just shows the incompetence of the Alliance even more. When we reach the final battle, we get Falco being able to turn into a bird simply because of the plot and the loose mechanics of Titan powers. Even though arcs like Tross place emphasis on the limited gas and blaze of the corpse, in the finale they have an infinite amount of those, as well as an infinite amount of energy against literally mountains of shifters. The plot magic and contrived nature of this entire conflict is laughable, especially when you realize this was all a corny setup by Eren so that Mikasa could kill him. Annie, Reiner, John, and Connie start all canonizing Eren as a sacrificial martyr, even though he literally killed 80% of the world. If you're supposed to be morally and ideologically opposing the rumbling, why do you weep and commemorate the person who was all for it? The Alliance are a band of geeks who get blessed up so badly by the plot, only to perpetuate the same cycle of revenge the story shows you the futility of. The fact that their families all miraculously survived the rumbling showed you how Mickey Mouse this shit really was. Ymir is deadass some of the worst shit I've ever seen in my entire life. My interpretation of 122 and Ymir's backstory is that Ymir lived a life completely enslaved. Even with the most power in the world, she was still a slave to King Fritz because she grew up with submission the only thing on her mind. Continuing her slave duty, she was forced to give birth to King Fritz's kids. Fritz turned her into a baby making machine to continue his imperialism, and during an uprising, a spear was thrown at Fritz in which Ymir took in his place. Dying in front of her, Fritz says to Ymir to rise and work as a slave she was born to be. She then dies, but Fritz has her children eat her to continue the power of the Titan in which Paz was born. It is Ymir's terrible life of slavery and submission that led her being a slave even after death, forced to obey Fritz and create his Titans. Eren swears to put an end to Fritz and the world itself, as Zeke is mirrored to the original king. Eren tells Ymir to be her own person. Those words open her eyes quite literally. It is the parallel to the actually good Ymir in chapter 89. I opened my eyes again and spread out before me was freedom. From there I began to walk and I lived the way I wanted. If you think that is pointless recapping, I want to tell you again. That was my interpretation of chapter 122. What if I told you everything I just said is wrong?
Just when I thought they couldn't get any stupider.
In chapter 139, Ymir Fritz is said to be enslaved by her love to King Fritz. It is also noted that she could have ended Titans and paths whenever she wanted to. These two things ruin the entire thesis on which Attack on Titan sits on. We are never made to assume Ymir loved King Fritz. Why would she be in love with the man who killed her parents, burned down her home, raped her, cut her tongue out, mocked her sacrifice, used her for imperialist conquest? You see, like, the list is fucking crazy, dude. This is not Stockholm Syndrome, where the captor shows kindness and the captured rationalizes their behavior. We are never shown an ounce of King Fritz being someone who's not the worst piece of shit ever. If she loved him, why didn't she listen to the request of rising and working? Ymir betrayed the king's request twice, so how is this love supposed to be communicated in any way? Despite denying his demand to rise and work and rejecting Zeke's royal blood, she was still bound to him for 2,000 years out of love. That simply does not make a lick of sense, and anyone trying to convince you otherwise is deadass stupid. Again, my original interpretation of chapter 122 was that she tried to be free in death from King Fritz. Why would she die if she loved him? It is remarked she could have easily saved herself, as did Armin, Reiner, and Zeke. The worst part of this is how it all reflects upon Eren and Mikasa. By paralleling Mikasa and Ymir, you parallel Eren and King Fritz, when Eren was nothing but a rejection of King Fritz. As I said, Founder and freckled Ymir are paralleled with their eyes opening as they regain their freedom. 139 retcons this by trying to say that Mikasa was the one to free her, and she just opened her eyes in 122 for funsies. The idea she could have ended paths whenever she wanted to creates so many holes in the story. It means that she was technically never a slave, as a real slave is someone who cannot just up and leave anytime they want to. That's like saying your job is turning into a slave, but you can literally quit anytime you want to. You will just be unemployed. Since Ymir is 4D and time doesn't really exist, she saw herself get freed by Mikasa long before paths was even fucking created, chronologically at least. So I don't know why she perpetuated the cycle. Furthermore, Ymir is literally characterized constantly as Krista, the good girl who's always kind and thinking of others, and to be someone everyone loves and someone who loves helping others. If she is supposedly this kind person, Why did she not instantly stop the Titan curse before 80% of the world is 2.6 off the face of the earth? These ideas are extremely contradictory if she's supposed to be this uber kind person, yet also be the sole reason why millions of Eldians are treated less than human. What should have been the most sympathetic person in the story is now turned into the biggest retarded bitch to ever exist across media. Again, one of the worst characters I have ever seen. A basic rule of writing conflicts is that you don't have a random third party end them. Like imagine in Death Note, it was a random person named Billy that killed L instead of Light. Having Mikasa, someone who has never struggled with the Titan power, be the main crux and ending it is beyond retarded. She is so far removed from being involved with the Titans, half her DNA isn't even Eldian and the other half is genetically altered. Imagine in One Piece, devil fruits are erased from the world because Nami kisses Luffy. Why the hell would Nami be the main factor for erasing the primary ability the world sits on? Exactly for Mikasa. Historia has had connections to Ymir from the beginning of the story, but they were all dropped for Mikasa to be the shoehorn Ymir stand-in. The only connection Mikasa has to Ymir is the randomly introduced headache problem in 139, which is a plot hole because Mikasa isn't at all affected by the power of the Titans, let alone the founder of them. The parallel to Ymir in 139 sets the stage that, like Mikasa, Ymir would have memorialized King Fritz just like Eren if she would have let him die. The idea of celebrating and memorializing King Fritz, the person who let your children eat you alive, is completely fucking revolting. So even in a vacuum, this parallel between Mikasa and Ymir is nonsensical. However, Mikasa has another dynamic that is just as bad. Mikasa and Eren do not share a healthy relationship. Filled with headbutts, misunderstandings, and lies, this relationship should not be the final tour de force the series tries to sell you on. I'm not going to tell you they should be in love and have kids together, but I will tell you that Mikasa's love for Eren is retarded. Mikasa never understood Eren from chapter 1 to chapter 138. In chapter 4, Mikasa tries to betray orders from her superior in order to be with Eren, in which he headbutts and berates her for. In chapter 16, she thinks Eren is relieved due to the fact that they can be together forever. In chapter 50, Mikasa kneels and submits to the Titans while Eren does the exact opposite. This point is especially weird because 40 chapters ago, in chapter 9, we see Mikasa with broken blades rises from her sadness and resolves to fight and win. If she really understood Eren, she would not submit and thank him for a fucking scarf. She would rise up with him and continue fighting until their bodies no longer have any life in them. In chapter 108, Connie asks Mikasa why did Eren laugh at Sasha's death. Mikasa does not answer. Despite seeing it firsthand, she could not answer Connie, fully showing her ignorance to Eren. Chapter 123 is the worst case by far. Mikasa thinks in her head what part of Eren has she been seeing. She understands that she has an idealized version of him in her head. In Marley, she sees Eren's unhinged disposition and chooses to ignore it. When asked what she views him as, Mikasa tells Eren family. She chose to lie to him. Even if I assume she has romantic feelings for him, she refuses to be honest with him, once again showing that the relationship and the misunderstanding is not healthy nor vibrant. Finally, in chapter 132, Mikasa says she will bring Eren back as he has strayed too far from home, fully ignorant of Eren's motivations and intentions up to this point. All these references were to show how Mikasa never understood Eren. Therefore, why is the ending making it seem like their love is true? Why is the ending celebrating the fact Mikasa never understood him? Why is the ending co-signing this unhealthy relationship? Even 138's cabin scene has an Eren who let his island die as well as abandon his dream to just live with Mikasa. This Eren also has really short hair, unlike the Eren who grew distant from her in the corpse. This ending goes to show how Mikasa never did and never will understand Eren. They were supposed to be fulfilled by this dynamic in this dusty ass fucking scarf. This relationship was able to stop a 2,000-year-old curse upon humanity when these characters haven't shared a one-on-one conversation that has lasted more than 15 seconds. Isayama decided to appeal to the shipping fan base and write an ending where instead of natalism, love was the main crux of it all. It should be known by now that Isayama shoehorned Mikasa into the final arc as she was narratively irrelevant beforehand. The only piece of evidence I need for this is Only the founder knows why Mikasa was chosen. There wasn't even a bullshit answer for why Mikasa was chosen, like only a person removed from the Titans could remove them from this world. It was just, I don't know, lol, I just felt like it, lol. By the end of the story, we get 2 dropped plot threads with Mikasa's connection to Hirazu and the Ackerman bond. And before anyone says Eren made up the Ackerman bond, why does this scene exist? Why does this scene exist? If Eren made it up, why is she responding like a fucking drone and ignoring all the context around her when Eren is hurt? This is because Isayama did not want to play with this anymore. Absolutely abysmal writing.
Somebody smell like shit!
Eren fucking Yeager. Unlike many illiterate goons, Eren is not a slave to freedom nor his desires or whatever flowery pretentious wording you want to use. Eren Yeager, the main character of the manga, was indeed retconned. Now I'm gonna prove this to you. The outside world was characterized as nothing but racist, xenophobic bigots who want to genocide away every single Eldian. Eren did the rumbling because 4 reasons. 1, talking would not work. 2, he wanted the freedom of not having a guillotine hanged over his head. 3, he wanted to protect Paradis. And 4, he wanted his friends to live long lives. I think everyone would agree these reasons are valid for why Eren chose to do the rumbling over the 50-year and euthanasia plans. On multiple occasions, he says that he will not leave the island to fate and that the world will destroy Paradis and every Eldian, and he rejects those wishes. If we all agree those are his motivations, why does he leave the fate of the world in Armin's hands to talk it out? Why does he just die in the end? Why does he leave the island to fate in peace talks, in which he just rejected earlier? Why do Hans, Floch, and Sasha all die for the rumbling? All his motivations are completely contradicted by the ending. Even the idea of ending the Titan curse is completely nonsensical. Why would Eren end the Titan curse if it meant giving up his life? The underground scene tells us Eren's life will always have meaning even if he is an enemy of humanity. Why would Eren give up on his life to end a curse that won't affect anyone anymore if the outside world is all gone? You see how he completely abandoned his original motivations to shoehorn in something else? What is much worse is 139 tells us since the medal ceremony, Eren knew about the ending. This does not make any sense, as it is told to us multiple times that Eren is only aware of what Grisha is and cannot know his entire future, as pointed out by Zeke. Eren was supposedly heading towards that scenery, something that made Grisha give him the founder. We never learn what this was, as 131 isn't it because nothing happened, and 139 also can't be the scenery, as Eren is literally on the floor crying, asking not to die. In chapter 130, Eren literally says in his head how everything is still ahead of him. There are 2 moments of contention here. If Eren knew the power of the Titans would be removed since the medal ceremony, why was he constantly tweaking out about Historia being turned into a Titan? This literally makes no sense. The next contention is the state of the founding Titan. I posit that the 4D nature of the founding Titan was introduced arbitrarily to gimp Eren's will. Eren in his own head in chapter 130 says everything is still ahead of us. If the founder's powers transcend time, why doesn't he say everything is right now or everything is happening according to plan? This dialogue is contradictory for what 139 presents. No matter how you slice it, Isayama completely revised this memory time thing. In chapter 121, Eren says everything is leading up to that scenery in which Grisha supported, but not only do we never see it, Eren was actually aware of the entire timeline, not just one specific event. Isayama included this 4D founder bullshit for one reason: Eren Yeager. Eren's will was too strong. If he wanted to deliver an ending with everyone's favorite characters alive, Eren's will had to be nerfed. With Eren, we are greeted to a textbook character assassination. Eren from the beginning of the story is characterized by his will being strong enough to do everything and anything possible. The world will never get him to submit. He will rage on even in the belly of a Titan. Eren could feel that will to life fueling him in that Titan's belly. belly. In chapter 50, in his howl against the world to convince Ymir to take his side. Chapter 139 attempts to define him without his will. When asked why he wanted to leave every surface a blank plane, he can no longer feel this will raging on inside of him. We come to the, I don't know, well, I think it's because I could've wanted to, Eren destroys 80% of the world and apparently planned that out since chapter 90. However, he has said on multiple occasions that he will destroy the entire world, and even chapter 139 he says his original intention was such a thing, which means he stopped at 80% so Mikasa could kill him, which is utterly disrespectful, for it was Ymir fucking Fritz fucking with his head in order to produce this outcome. Even if this was always the original outcome of Eren dying to Mikasa, it should have never manifested after so many retcons and plot holes. In order to deliver this ending, Eren had to be retconned, in love with Mikasa, drop all the evidence for his child with Historia, Floch, Sasha, and Hans had to die for no reason, and parodies had to be destroyed.
Everything from the moment Eren woke up underneath the tree was to convince Mikasa to chop his skull off so that a lolly who was having Stockholm syndrome, but actually voluntary Stockholm syndrome, could get over her lover, which has no connection to Eren and his lover any way whatsoever. The first episode of Attack on Titan is shit just because of that.